Hello, my name is Chuck Kimmel. I'm the director of the injury clinic within the student health services at Appalachian State University in Boone, North Carolina. This discussion is on athletic training as a function of student health utilizing alternative revenue sources. I have no financial stake in this. There will be no products discussed, nor anything that would be of any nature where there might be perceived a conflict in any part of my discussion. I want to thank you for your participation in this program, and I hope you get something out of it. I went to Appalachian State in 2007 to become the director of injury clinic. At the time I arrived there, it was a 50% job, 50% in academics and 50% in student health services. After roughly a year and a half, it was then turned into 100% in student health services, and I relinquished my academic responsibilities. In terms of Appalachian State University, we are in the Appalachian Mountains. The enrollment as of the fall of 2018, the total enrollment was 19,108. Undergrad made 17,381 of that number. The campus has about 1,200 acres, and there are 375 health services are located. In terms of cost of attendance, in-state is roughly $3,700. Out-of-state undergrad is $11,000. In-state graduate tuition is roughly $4,000, and out-of-state graduate tuition is roughly $11,000. There are, as we say in Kentucky where I'm from, buku of opportunities for the students in the Boone community to be involved in activities. There are more than 80 team or individual intramural opportunities, 20 club teams, 20 intercollegiate athletic teams of which we play no part in. But in the club team area, for example, we have Quidditch, which I wasn't a Harry Potter fan, and I don't really know anything about Quidditch, except those players get hurt. Ultimate Frisbee is another sport that gives us a lot of students who are injured. Beyond that, we have men and women's rugby. We have hockey. We have biking, cycling. And as you can imagine, in the mountains in the winter, we have snowboarding and skiing that provide lots of opportunities for our students to be involved as an athlete. Within student health services, just to kind of give you a snapshot of the makeup of the staff, there are 44 full-time staff members. One is a director. There are 9 clinicians, of which 4 are MDs. We have 1 psychiatrist MD, a physician assistant, and 3 nurse practitioners. We have a history in our student health that our MDs come out of the pediatric area, and right now we have a couple that were pediatricians. Beyond that, there's 1 pharmacist, 2 pharmacy techs, 2 in the injury clinic that are full-time, 13 RNs, LPNs, 3 certified nursing assistants, 3 who work in the lab, 1 in x-ray, and 1 shot giver. Beyond that, we have 1 computer guru, I would call him, 7 support staff, of which Within that group, there are 2 administrative, 2 receptionists, an insurance coordinator, one who handles appointments, and the one who helps our students get outside referrals. Beyond that, there are 43 part-time PRN nurses and 16 part-time student employees. Quite a number of people in student health, and it's a busy operation. When looking at the 2017-18 clinic stats, obviously I want to highlight the injury clinic. We had 5,482 visits. The nurse provider had 2,900, roughly 1,200 psychiatric visits, 20,000 tests, 1,000 x-rays, and 614 flu shots, just to highlight a few. When you look at the top conditions or reasons that the students come to student health services, injury care is number 2 on the list, behind only upper respiratory infections, sinusitis, and pharyngitis. And so you can see that a good deal of our traffic in student health is for injury care. On average, there are about 200 plus or minus students that are seen in student health. The student health fee is what pays for our services. The students pay $162.50 per semester in student health fees, so that's $325 an academic year. And what really is a great deal is in the summer, if they're enrolled in the fall and not enrolled in the summer, they can pay a one-time $10 summer fee. And if they're coming in for a sprained ankle, for example, we can treat them every day during the summer for that sprained ankle, for that one $10 summer fee. I think when you think about the value for the students who utilize student health, and in particular the injury clinic, the students get their value if they need the services. When I interviewed in the fall of 2006, Dr. Patricia Geiger, who was the director of student health services, during the interview, and she paid half of the decision-making process in hiring me, she told me that she believed that there was enough demand to make the athletic training position in student health a full-time position, but she just never had been able to justify it. With that said, a certified athletic trainer has been in student health since 1977. It was half-time athletics, half-time student health services, or it was half-time academics and half-time student services, which is the arrangement that I came into the employment under. Before me, I always believed that the half that wasn't student health was the half that the athletic trainer felt more inclined to work with. They were hired as an athletic trainer in athletics first, and given this injury clinic job, or they were hired in academics and given the student health services job as a secondary job so as to get their salary at a reasonable level. When I applied for the job, it was important to me that I did teach, but it was also important to me that I would still be an active athletic trainer. So when I came to the position, I came fired up to both teach and make the athletic training situation in student health the best it could be. So with that said, and with Dr. Geiger's leadership, it was a full-time athletic trainer and intern athletic trainer from the fall of 2007 to 2014, with her dream being realized in the fall of 2008 when the athletic training position became full-time in student health. And then from 2014 until the fall of this year, there were 2 full-time athletic trainers in student health services. So in the first 7 years, we had gone from half an athletic trainer's position in student health to 1 full-time athletic trainer's position with an intern to 2 full-time athletic trainers in the student health services. Our operating schedule up until this fall, we're open from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. In the summer, we were open from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. We were closed on weekends, closed when school is closed, closed with school when they are on their breaks, and we did not require any appointments. For an athletic trainer's position, it's a pretty good job, I have to admit. So beginning this fall, we have a new operating schedule, and it's even been altered just recently from this. But our original plan was, instead of 8 o'clock to 4 o'clock, go 7:30 to 5 p.m. with the hour and a half from 7:30 to 9 for appointments, 9 to 3 for walk-in, and 3 to 4:15 with appointments. We've since altered that, to be honest with you, because it works better if we're just 7:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. with no appointments required. We've never required appointments because I felt like it might discourage the students if they had to make an appointment before they could come in. And although there are some times during the day when we are very busy, we can always accommodate the number of patients we have, as opposed to having no-shows for appointments. As another new thing for this fall, we've added another part-time licensed athletic trainer. So now we have 2 full-time and 1 part-time athletic trainer in student health services. The day-to-day operation, we do have an ebb and flow. As I alluded to, it is unpredictable. I try to figure out what our busy days are, just like I try to figure out what our most frequent injuries are. And just like most things in athletic training, probably life, as soon as you think you got it figured out, it changes. So typically in years past, Tuesday, Thursdays were busy days for us. I am so sorry. I'm sorry. Clark?
You're good. You're good. Go ahead.
You sure? Okay. My apologies.
Yeah.
So the ebb and flow
good.
is unpredictable. Okay, thank you. The ebb and flow is unpredictable, and like I said, that historically Tuesdays and Thursdays had been our busiest days, but this semester it's been Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Of course, that falls in line with classes as they're offered on campus. We do not close for lunch. Another part of my philosophy as it related to appointments too. I'm afraid that if we give them any reason not to come in, they will find a reason not to come in. And if they came and pulled on the door and the door was locked, they wouldn't come back. So we do not close for lunch. If we want to have something during the day, we bring it to our desk and kind of work it into our day, just like we do the treatments. It's worked, I think, rather well for the staff over the years. And of course, we do take breaks during the day to walk around the building when we aren't busy. Our greatest advertisement is word of mouth. we hear thank you every day from nearly every student and how much they value what we do for them. And my standard retort is, well, tell your friends about us, because that's the way that the students typically find out about us. And there will be students who come into the injury clinic, and we are housed on the same floor as student health services, just adjacent to the pharmacy and down the hall from the providers. Walk in and tell us what's wrong with them. But the catch is my next point: they must have a referral for us to treat them or see them. So if they come in without a referral, we tell them that we'd love to help them, but they've got to be seen by a provider, who then will make a decision whether to refer. I'm always reasonably comfortable and confident that we will receive that referral, but it is required for them to be seen by us. So for last year, our internal referrals numbered 560. That would be referrals from providers within student health services under the student health umbrella. External referrals for the same year was 89. We have 2 orthopedic practices in Boone, and then we get referrals from all over the state, and frankly, we've gotten them from all over the country because our students aren't just North Carolina residents. However, the vast majority of them are. So most of our referrals would come from, say, Charlotte, Raleigh, Durham, Greensboro, Winston-Salem, on the coast, Wilmington, and any place in between. So as an athletic trainer who's interested in athletics, I keep stats. I run our numbers every day and every month, and I think that's been critical to selling us across campus and to our bosses in student health services, to see the numbers of students who we're servicing and helping on a daily, monthly, or annual basis. So the next few slides will be my effort to try to give you a picture of how many we see and what we see. So our one-day max was in April of 2015, and we saw 61 students that day. We've had 3 days in the last month where we've seen 57 to 58, but we haven't been able to top that 61. The most recent number that I new patients that we saw in September, we saw over 6 students. So this graph is the number of new patients that we saw for each year, with 2012, 2013 being our record-setting year, where we saw 1,091 new students, and last year we saw 848, which would seem to fall kind of in the median of the whole experience at Appalachian and Student Health Services since the 06-07 year. For total treatments, our biggest year was 13-14, 6,047, had 5,900 2 years before that, and then last year we saw 5,482 total treatments for our students. So you can see the numbers in both these slides ramped up pretty quick, and then we reached what probably is what would be normal for us, and you can see the numbers have all seemed to fall within close proximity to one another year in and year out. So another snapshot is the number of new treatments versus the number of total treatments. As you can imagine, the first year would be high because we were only open 4 hours a day. And well, that year we were open 8 hours a day, but the services were still new. So fully a fifth of our treatments were new treatments. Last year we had 15.5% of our treatments were new. The other 84.5 were returnees or not new treatments. Those numbers have stayed pretty steady from the beginning until last year. So you look at the sites that we're treating for 2017 through 2018. The shoulder, we were 26% of the treatments that we did. Knee 16, ankle 14%, and patellofemoral issues 8%. Early on, I realized that our knee injuries and our patellofemoral, there were enough numbers there to separate those, and I've broken those out into two groups since the very beginning. And as I again said earlier, you can't predict things. This year we are very heavy on ankles and not so heavy on shoulders. So it's hard to predict what's coming in. Of course, that's an athletic training practice anyway, isn't it? But last year before this last completed year, shoulder was most. In terms of our new treatments, 13% were shoulders, ankles 13%, knees 12%. I think what this graph demonstrates, or chart demonstrates, when you compare it to the total treatments, is that our shoulder treatments are more likely to be long-term than our ankle treatments, and even our knee treatments. The shoulders that we've been seeing historically are post-op or of a nature, a subluxation, or a nature that was required some sort of long-term type of treatment and rehabilitation. Again, this is just an illustration of where we're getting our referrals. 11% came from in-house MDs. Well, I'm sorry. These are our in-house people without their names attached. So you can see that typically our nurse practitioners and our doctors are providing us with basically the same number of referrals. We have one nurse practitioner, the 6%er. I could call that person who deals mainly in women's health. So we don't get a lot of referrals from that nurse practitioner. Otherwise, they're all pretty constant. Ortho Carolina is a local orthopedic practice, and Appalachian Orthopedics is another local orthopedics, the two that I alluded to. So 7% of our referrals came from local orthopedic practices, and 5% came from out of town. For April of last year, again, it just is going to show you basically what you've seen in the other slides, that it's consistent. Shoulders high, patellas were high, ankles and knees were high. So it's in that regard, historically, it stayed pretty steady. Some athletic trainer in student health services. It's a great clinical. Basically, I've completed everything, and we can let them quote unquote practice athletic training because they're under direct supervision. We're just in one room, so they're always where we can watch them. But I'm proud to allow them to act somewhat independently when needed or confirm what their thoughts are. So if you're thinking about getting an athletic training position in student health, and frankly, I've heard from a handful of institutions almost every year who hear about what we've got going on and are interested in establishing something similar at their school. What I would suggest that you do is that you advocate that it provides for yet majority of the enrolled students. I like to say that there are 18,000 app students and athletics takes care of, let's say, 750. That leaves us 17,250 that we're responsible for who otherwise wouldn't have any athletic training services. Students get hurt in every type of activity, from rock climbing to the ones I talked about, to rock climbing and bouldering. If you've never heard about bouldering, it's where the students or the people who participate jump from one boulder to another, and who can imagine what could go wrong there? So the students who get involved in activities and get injured are referred to us, and we can help them. And we are the ideal healthcare provider for these populations. They're active, they don't like to be inactive, and they want to get back out there just as quickly as they can. I see as much drive and desire in the students we treat as I did when I was a head athletic trainer to Division I institution. We're also able to screen the patients in the case their conditions are beyond our scope, and can recommend an appropriate practitioner. This does happen during the year, and as an athletic trainer, and as I've preached throughout my career, we should do athletic training, and when it's beyond our scope, we should be willing and more than happy to refer the patients to someone who can better serve them, who are better trained to take care of their conditions. And this happens 2 or 3 times a year, and we're glad to try to find the best possible provider for our students, regardless of what's going on. And finally, they don't broadcast it, nor should they, but the public relations comes in with the parents and the students who share our story and help them stay active and in school. So what should you do? You always have to look for your champions, and at least at App State, we have to have student affairs support. Actually, I've got to have student health services support. I had a wonderful champion in Dr. Geiger, and every director since her has appreciated the services that we provide and sing our praises. I think it's always best when someone else is bragging on you. And I think when the injury clinic comes up in student affairs, it never gets to me because I think the directors have taken care of supporting the work that we do and providing the evidence that's needed to keep our operation going. If you can, you should have athletic support, although we don't treat the intercollegiate athletes, nor do we interact directly with the athletic trainers. I think it's important that you make friends wherever you can, and the athletic trainers have been very good to the injury clinic, and I believe they support us to the point where they send us their managers and their videographers and their support personnel who get hurt and allow us to work with them. It helps to get academic support. We again have had the blessing of a wonderful academic program in athletic training at Appalachian State that's been here for decades and will be continue even through the academic reform, as they've already been approved for a master's and are heading in that direction. And they've been very supportive of the work we do by sending us students. I think it's important that the word gets out that it's a low cost, high benefit for the students. Again, I can't emphasize that you have to keep stats. In today's world, you can't tell them that you're effective. You have to show them. And I think we can with the stats I keep. Every month, my director gets a report on our month. And I always invite any questions they have and of course, thank them for their support. I frankly believe that if you could get your foot in the door, the results will settle the argument. If you can get an athletic trainer in student health, pardon me, or in a position that they can work with the students, you'll win the argument, and you'll have to fight them to make sure they don't estimate your value, which of course, who could ever do that? You should advocate for your students at your institution. You have to think outside the athletic model. I think that's one of the major lessons I've learned is I don't deal with football. I don't deal with volleyball. I don't deal with coaches. I deal with a completely different set of athletes who have their own needs and their own reason why it's important for them to get back out there. I've already told you how important the athletic training education program is to our operation and how they support us with providing us with very good students who need an environment in a clinical setting where they can get exposure to a different type of practice. I think you should build your case with your academic affairs with no strings attached. Just dare them to find a reason why you can't contribute to the health of their students who they are there for. And I think finally, you just need to be completely transparent and trustworthy. I think that's really a founding principle for athletic training, frankly, is that as a profession, we are transparent and we are trustworthy. And I think it would pay off if you got your chance to start a program similar to what Appalachian State has, but you must be transparent and trustworthy. It's a great opportunity to broaden athletic training services that, again, fits our unique set of skills and expertise. We couldn't find a better place to advocate for athletic trainers in a population that otherwise would go through their life and never be exposed to athletic training. We're treating thousands of students every year, and everyone that comes in is educated on athletic training and what we do. And I can't believe, or I won't believe, that when they graduate, that they're not going to take the warm feelings and the great experience they've had from the athletic trainers at Appalachian State and take it into their communities. It's cost effective, yet effective healthcare. We help our students get better. We help them get back out there and doing the things that they want to do. If your institution bills for student health and your state allows, it could be a revenue stream, although I think student fees are perfect for us, and I'm happy with our revenue stream as an alternative to third-party reimbursement. I wouldn't begrudge an institution, obviously, that could bill, that would seek that as an opportunity to fund their athletic training program. And in our student health services and within the North Carolina system, there seems to be a move afoot for some insurance billing, third-party reimbursement, but not as it relates to athletic training services, at least for now at Appalachian State. I think if there's any transition to anything, it might be a low-cost fee for service for a student that might be similar to what we charge now for summer, a one-time fee per injury before they're seen. But right now we don't have that. There are no fees for services. Our services are fully covered by their student fees. It can serve as a recruitment for the institution. I think that the students who get out there, who are active and have friends who are considering App State, they might tell their friends about the student health. In fact, the club sports have recruiting days. I'm not sure to what degree it goes, but we are close with several sports because of the number of student athletes, I'll say, that we've treated. And I believe they use student health and the injury clinic as a selling point to be a part of their team. We have a close in-house relationship with our MDs and other practitioners, and this, of course, enhances the collaboration as we try to work together to best serve our students. And, of course, we have and continue to have complete confidence of academic affairs, and by virtue of that, I think the administration. And we're very grateful for the confidence been shown in the work that we do. So just some recent news in the past year. I believe Valdosta State has started a similar program for their students in student health services. And just this summer or spring, I heard from an athletic trainer at Southern Illinois University at Edwardsville who had had the burden of being in this talk when I gave it at the NATA a few years ago, and remembered it, which surprised me, and called because they were interested in starting a program similar to this at SIU Edwardsville. So that's just 2 institutions in the last 6 months. I believe more schools hopefully will move in this direction, especially with healthcare being the way it is and the cost that the students might have to bear. If the institution can demonstrate that they're willing and able to support their students, I believe that in fact would become a recruiting tool to attract students to an institution. So what did the students say? On April 18th of this year, just randomly, of the students who came in the injury clinic, I gave them a sheet of paper and I said, what has the services of the injury clinic meant to you as an App State student? I told them that their answers would be anonymous, that I wanted them to be honest. I did not want them to mention any people by name. I wanted to know what they thought about the injury clinic and the services that we provide, and just to highlight a few. Some responses were the injury clinic has allowed me to heal while also teaching me ways to prevent future injury. It's allowed me to continue to be active and will help me to continue in years to come. Injury clinic's been instrumental in my recovery from multiple injuries. It's a great drop-in convenience and no cost to me is great. Alongside pain management, this service has allowed me to have a safe place to get proper help. I have no doubt this service has sped up my recovery process, um, allowing me to have my sense of medical freedom back. Um, when I dislocated my knee, which actually was a dislocated patella, I didn't know if I was going to be able to do what I wanted to again. But with the injury clinic, I was taught to think positive about my injury, and that recovery is possible if you work hard enough. It means a lot to me that regular students, not just school athletes, have the ability to come to and benefit from the injury clinic. Having the injury clinic here at App gives me reassurance that I'm looked after, and it's been beneficial because I don't know how I could have handled my injuries by myself. I love that there's no cost associated with treatment. As a college student, that's always a concern. I'm grateful that the injury clinic exists, and I hope others can benefit from it too. As a side note, I, I, I brag that our services are free. It doesn't make me feel like I'm giving anything away because they actually are paying for it. But it's wonderful to be able to say that if you come in every day from today until the day you graduate, you won't have to pay a penny. The injury clinic services mean that injured students work themselves to be better than before they were injured. And it's been a great way to treat my injury right off the bat. Along with treatment, it's provided me with a little community who understands. And I think that's another important point. We realize what goes on in intercollegiate athletic training rooms, where there's some fun, there's camaraderie, there is a community. Well, in our little corner of the world in student health services, we too build a community. And the same students come in every day. They oftentimes sit beside a student who plays a completely different sport, and they learn about each other. They lean on each other. They talk about their injuries, how things were similar, how things were different. And the community factor, I think, is something that I can't measure it, nor can I tell you that I have evidence that it means something, but I think it does because I see it in the faces of our students, and I see it and I hear it in their discussions, and I hear it in the questions they ask us, what it means to them. So Student Health Services, we had a reaccreditation site visit in 2015. The accreditor came from Emory, and it was a physician who had worked closely with athletic trainers at Emory. And they've got a wonderful program there. So he had a heads up on athletic training and the services that we provide, what our expertise is, and how we can benefit athletes who are injured. And his conclusion in his report was that the injury clinic as part of student health services was 10 years ahead of everyone else in the country. That means a lot. That meant a lot to us. That also means that 4 years have passed since then. So I hope the country is only 6 years behind us now, and that more athletic trainers will be found in student health services across the country, regardless of the funding. I think student fees is very workable here. It's very good that that's our funding source, and it hurts a little, but it hurts everybody in terms of having to make the payment. But our services are available to everybody. And during the course of a student's 4-year career, I can't tell you what the odds are that they'll end up in our room, but I do know we see a lot of students every year. The real kicker when that accreditor was in the athletic training room, it was in the summer. There was only one person in there getting treatment. It was a post-ACL rehab. And the physician asked the student, "So what has the injury clinic meant to you?" And this is a direct quote. The student said, "If it wasn't for the injury clinic, I would have had to withdraw from school." There's no greater testimony than that, that we help students maintain the ability to attend school and hopefully graduate, which is what the business we're in. I really believe that if you build it, and this is how our clinic looks a lot of the time during a lot of the days, if you build it, the students will come. I have a couple more pages of quotes. I won't bore you with them, but I wanted everybody who submitted a quote to be included, and we heard from everybody, and I only threw 2 out, one that mentioned names and one that referred to our services as physical therapy in spite of the education that we give them about who we are. I appreciate your willingness to play a part in this. I am more than willing and able or happy to answer any questions you have. Feel free to email me at Kimmel, Kimmel, C as in Charles, W as in William, at Kimmel, KIMMELCW 44 at outlook.com. I'm in the process of changing emails, so forgive me. That email is Kimmel,
Chuck,
Kimmel. Yeah.
This is Clark Simpson facilitating your session. And I think we've got time for maybe a couple of questions as I've listened to your presentation that I wanted to ask and kind of get your opinions on. One thing, and you gave us a great history from you being hired there, but previous to that, there was a halftime position of an athletic trainer in student health services. Do you know the history or how that started there at Appalachian State, why they put an athletic trainer in student health services to begin with?
Well, yes, there was a physician, the director, who was also the team physician, and of course got to know the athletic trainers through his work with athletics, and was clearly smitten with athletic trainers and the work that we did for the student athlete because of the athletic training education program. That when I was at East Tennessee in 1978, App already had a well-established, well-respected athletic training education program regarded. And I think the physician in student health saw the need. Another complicating factor in Boone at the time was there was very little health care. When student health was built, it actually was an inpatient facility. There wasn't a hospital of any note. There were no orthopods. There were no therapy clinics in town. So the students had to get their care on campus. And if you looked at the injury clinic, basically it's 3 standard hospital rooms with the walls knocked down. And because no care was available for the students, and the physician saw what good care the student athletes were getting, he realized that the student population could benefit from it because they really had nowhere else to go unless they go off the mountain, as we say, and that's 45 minutes to an hour to almost any place that's off the mountain where they could get physical therapy. And of course, there were no athletic training services that would have been available to them. So there was a physician who had the vision and, in my poorly chosen words, good sense to recognize that the students who weren't an intercollegiate athlete deserved the same type of care that the intercollegiate athletes got. And he saw what those athletes got, and he wanted to duplicate it in student health. So, and it also provided, I think, a way to fund another athletic training position, to be honest with you. Athletics only had to chip in half. Student health only had to chip in half. And when it went academic, student health, academics chipped in half. They got a half time professor, and student health got a half-time athletic trainer. The problem with that is half-time is about half what you get. When I was doing half-time, I was open 4 hours a day, and each day of the week could vary depending on my class schedule. And I was happy to do it. Again, I love teaching, and I miss that. But when it went 8 hours a day, as Dr. Geiger predicted it would, it has blown up.
Well, that was a great way, a great explanation as to how it got started. Do you have, and yes, starting part-time with that is always difficult to get started, but it is a way. For those people that may be listening to the presentation that may have some interest in this and are at a university, et cetera, you've pointed out some things, but what would maybe be the top things that would come to you for athletic trainers to look at? What would be the ideal, kind of university situation or things they should look at to, evaluate, or where would be the best place to start to investigate this?
Well, I think that's of course, a great question, and I give I would say two places. Number one, I think you need the athletic trainer will need to look at the level of activities that their students are in. Do their students have nearly 100 opportunities to be involved in club, intramural, and that doesn't even include the one-on-one. And it doesn't have to be 100; it could be 20. But if they're involved, if they have an active student population, you can bet those students are getting injured. And then the point is, where do they go and how do they afford it? So the first thing I'd do is I would look at intramurals, clubs, and any individual type things that go on. Another area here that I'd failed to mention where we get a lot of students are in kayaking. So are there kayakers? Are there it's just every crazy thing from Quidditch to any other thing where their students are involved. And try to figure out numbers without driving yourself crazy or going somewhere with a counter. Figure out what percentage of the students are involved in those types of things. And the second thing, and it's obviously was the keystone at App State, and that is getting your director of your student health services behind it. They are in a more powerful position to advocate. It's less seen as less self-serving if the director of student health services is advocating for a service for their students that frankly is, when you think about it, relatively low cost in the big picture. Our students who come to the student health services in the injury clinic, if they come to see us, let's just say 5 times, if they were paying co-pays, they would have already probably surpassed their 1 semester student health fee, which otherwise covers their doctor's visits. It covers their x-rays, except for the reading of the x-ray. It covers most every service that we give. And just with 5 visits, they would have gotten their money's worth. So the physician or whoever directs your student health, and then up the chain to the dean of students, whoever, whatever the title is of the person who's in charge of student affairs, because this in fact is a student affair, and it does have to do with the health of the population that lives on campus and their ability to do their job, which is go to school and graduate. So a measure of the activity on campus and the degree to which the students are involved. And secondly, the director of student health services has to be a champion, your chief cheerleader, from my perspective.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I think that'll be the final question. So thanks, Chuck, for taking the time to do this presentation. And with that, we'll end this presentation. Thank you.